Hello and welcome to another Project Nigel fleet update. This time it's February 2023.
Alfie. Lovely Alfie. Can you believe that Alfie is still here after all of this time? When you consider that it's not a joke, it's just a lovely, very early Rover 45 and a very nice colour, albeit rather dirty at the moment. It's practically rust-free and markless body and super duper lovely, comfortable, dry interior that also needs vacuuming. That is, well, full of boxes. Well, full of boxes, those can come out. The most important thing is the boot is not full of water. In fact, it has no water in it at all. Yet, this car still lives here with me. I've never really pushed to sell it, but then I've never, ever, at any point said that I wouldn't sell it. I mean, I would sell it. I just wouldn't sell it cheap. I cannot see the point. I want to make sure this goes to a nice home. But at the moment, it's just here. Maybe the yard is a nice home. I mean, after all, the yard may not be a lovely, clean place. It may not be warm. It may not be inside, because it's outside. But this car is here with all of its family. I don't mean all of its family, but a great deal of it. In fact, one thing that's occurred to me genuinely now is that the majority of MG or Rover or MG Rover in this town is probably actually in this yard now. So, what about it, Alfie? Is it time you actually went and found yourself a new home? Because if you don't, I'll end up using you next month again. Or will I? You see, next month, the car I want to use is actually this one, new to the yard. This car's called Vaughn. Vaughn under a wandering star. It is, if you haven't seen it before, a 416, and it's not the tidiest looking car going, but it works, and it needs an MOT. And it's all MOT work that I should be able to do. Of all the Rovers, the one I do like the best, and I'm always banging on about this, so I do have a bit of consistency here, is the R8, and in particular, the booted version. My preference would be not the 1.6 Honda engine, but in actual fact the 2-litre M series. But, you know, I haven't got one of those. But I do have one of these, and it's an automatic. And the battery's flat, but when it isn't flat, it starts on like that. So what does this car need? Well, I mean, if you are one of these lovely people that only watch the update video because you can't bother to watch the rest of the videos because they don't particularly interest you or whatever, I can tell you right now, it needs front brake pads. It needs both the arches welding up, and it needs the middle section of the exhaust reattaching. And when I say reattaching, I mean replacing or welding up with a little idea that I have. But I'm not going to go into that idea yet, because this video isn't about that idea, is it? Well, no, it's not. This key here is for a car just round the corner called Amy. Now this key is currently a bit useless for this car because, quite simply, there is nowhere to put it. Amy is still having bits taken off gradually, and I say gradually because this car has been here for almost a year. That is a silly amount of time to have a car knocking about that I have no intention of fixing. And of course I have no intention of fixing. Look at it. It'd be impossible now, wouldn't it? Well, maybe it wouldn't actually, but it is going to be. What else has come off this car then? Well, that. Yeah. That bit of thing there. And Well, I can't open that door because, yeah, I don't really want to open that door because it also has a hinge missing. So if I do open it, it's going to drop down. Then I'm going to have to struggle to get it back closed again. Now, guess what? Still no actual plans to get rid of this thing. I'll just have it here until I simply get fed up of it being here. And you know what? I'm not. It's weird, that, isn't it? Weird being as that I'm struggling with space. Once a month, I treat myself to a nice little sit down in this, the SD1 V8. And you know what? It is a treat, really, in some ways, because you know it's a car of properly the past, and it's just living here. The car just lives here. There are no plans to do any work with it. But then somebody said to me the other day, why don't you use your newfound welding skills, which obviously are not skills yet, to fix this up? And obviously I thought, well, that's not really going to happen, is it? You know, have you seen how much welding this needs? It needs quite a lot. Then I thought, well, do you know what? That might be a possibility, not now, but if this car is still here in a couple of years, then yeah. However, there's a bit more to it than just welding up the chassis, because as you can see, it needs wings, it needs doors, it doesn't need a tailgate, but there are lots of things it does need that are probably almost impossible to get hold of now. Just looking here, actually, there, just seeing how that seat belt is frayed. It's stuff like that that you can have everywhere, will just accumulate and accumulate until car would cost not hundreds to fix or thousands, but tens of thousands, maybe even £1 million. £1 million. I reckon that's an exaggeration. This is a new one, isn't it? It's a full fat Project Drive Rover 45, and oh dear, with nothing left in the battery. There we go. It's a K series. It works. It's got coolant in it, but that Halfords battery is completely useless. This is Bolti's car. Now, a couple of weeks back, he drove it from his place 50 miles away. Haven't had to jump start it, got it going, and the next day it wouldn't start. So that's because the battery is, well, you know it's buggered, don't you? That's just a battery though, it doesn't really matter too much. What's more important is it needs the exhaust fixing. Definitely needs a tyre on the front of there. Or does it? Yeah, it does. And you probably don't need a great deal else for its MOT, which is kind of good. I only just realised, actually, this one has electric windows in the back. That's a novelty, isn't it? But the thing is, what's behind me is a car called Ronda, and because this is here, I'd have to get the jump pack on it to move it to get that one out. So it's just as well I don't need to get it out. Ronda, of course, is still here after all this time. After all this time of being paid for, and had some straights put on, which one of them's gone flat, it is still here. And the curious thing about this car is that the previous owner wants to buy it back. And obviously I can't really do that because somebody else now owns it. He just hasn't come for it. Now I know there's an agreement where it could just stay here, but unfortunately the way things are, no cars can stay here without paying rent, because I have to pay rent to be here, and all of this space is useful to me. Oh gosh, I sound like a right... What can I say about it? It just needs to go or pay some rent. It's as simple as that. Beneath the cover here we have an 800, which was there in the same place last time. We don't really need to talk about that one any further. And then this one as well, which is the MGZT Typhoon. Typhoon. So as I said that then, I thought, hang on, little men with flat caps on running around with tea bags. That can't be the right name. No, it's Spectre, isn't it? It's a Spectre, not a Typhoon. Typhoon's blue, isn't it? Yeah, well, we all make mistakes. As this silver 45 is here, of Bolti's, that signifies the leaving of another car, which was Sheeson. Now that car lived here for quite a while, and then I sorted out the brake caliper on the back and got it MOT'd, and it was fine. And now Sheeson is back off home in somewhere over the tops, living its best life, I hope. Last month or the month before, I don't know which one it was, I don't know. How dare you burst into a song like that? I acquired this Rover 75 in steel blue with a little bit of crash damage. Naturally, I wanted to fix this car because it's a rare colour, it's a low mileage V6 with only 2 owners. And so I did, and there it is with a new face on it. A new face, a new grille that wants replacing, a new headlamp, a new bonnet, a new slam panel, a new radiator. Quite a lot of new things going on there. The grille has been replaced but needs replacing again, and the bumper still wants just a little bit of lifting up, I think, for the alignment. But other than that, all hunky-dory and tickety-boo and peachy creamy. And what a lovely sounding engine we have here. Once I peel off the rest of the chrome stickers and everything, this has the potential, or well, there will be, a very nice car. And just last night I put it up for sale and I had a message straight away, and that particular chap is coming to see it on Tuesday. I won't tell you who this chap is, but he's a good chap. Yeah. Hello, Harry. This is Harry the 600, and the oh, hang on, nah, I thought the key was sticking there. Now you know what I'm about to say, don't you? Yes, you do. No progress. Again, of course no progress. Why would there be any progress on it? I mean, there's just not going to be, is there? But the thing is, this car, just like the SD1 and the R8, I just love to sit in them. They just have that proper Rover feel to them. I just want more time. I need more time to actually do work. Stop making videos then. Well, no, that wouldn't really work, would it? Because otherwise you wouldn't know that I needed more time to do these things. But this car needs a fuel pump. I haven't even investigated whether you can get to that fuel pump by removing the back seats, if there's any kind of access hatch there or something. Or is it a tank-off job? Tank-off jobs are much more awkward, of course. And you never know. I mean, you will probably know, or some of you will know, that the fuel pump may be exactly the same as this, as what it's in the 216, which obviously I have over there. But I don't know. And until I can find some time to work on this car and do something with it, it will just sit here. The problem for cars like this that need some sort of long-term care is that they're always going to be just on a shelf I can't quite reach. As I've explained, time is always the issue. Unless I was just to spend all day, every day here, not have an outside life, cars like this are always going to remain for quite a while before anything really gets done. Because in the meantime, things come along every day. I have messages every day, links to cars, links to things that are completely out of my price range or skill set or just too far away. And then I have plenty of others that actually work out fine, like Eric. Look around the yard today, you will not find Eric anywhere. I can tell you about Eric. I'm driving Eric right now, but he won't be returning to the yard, so by the time you see some more of this video, he won't even be anywhere to be seen. Eric, of course, is new to the yard. He's a black Rover 25 that keeps getting really dirty, which isn't great. Obviously, black does show the dirt up very, very well, especially salty dirt, which we have had quite a lot of recently due to the rather inconsistent weather and rather nasty cold stuff going on, and it doesn't look very nice. It is giving me very, very good fuel economy, so much so that I don't even bother looking at the needle any longer, and that's how I've managed to run out of diesel. Actually, that's not really true. The gauge seems to be either slightly off, or the fact that when I came out of work and went straight up the steep hill, all the fuel got flung to the back of the tank, and the pickup's obviously near the front, and so it just conked out. And that was good, because it's, well, obviously a lot better than the alternative of it actually breaking down. And so the next day I could actually just bunk some more diesel in it and get it going again. As it is a facelift, it comes with all the facelift problems with the slightly iffy build quality in places, but it drives absolutely spot on. It's got new wheels on it, which have got 3 punctures, which are down to the yard and the people in the yard, and there's not much I can do about that because they don't understand or take on information about dropping nails everywhere. You may have even seen me use the dent puller for the first time on this car. You see, when you've got something that is your daily car, it makes you more likely to do these minor jobs that don't involve a great deal of bravery. And now, let's go to Knackered Horse. There it is, Knackered Horse, the blue MGTF. As you can see, it is still here, but it won't be for much longer. It really won't be. It is just about to be collected, and I don't mean today, but within the next few weeks or something like that. It really won't be very long, and this car will be out of the yard maybe forever. It may come back for a visit one day, I don't know, but the chap who's bought it, or buying it rather, is prepared to take on all of the jobs. He said to me, better to have 2 cars on the driveway in bits than 1, and that's why he wants it. Look up here, we seem to have a Rover 214 on the back of transit face. Now, why would that be? Why would this car end up on the back of here? Well, I can give you some very good reasons why. Actually, the main reason is space. This vehicle called transit face takes up a space. A car on the back of it doesn't take up any more space. So that is pure logic, isn't it? Also, this doesn't work anymore. I mean, it does, but the immobilizer has decided that it's going to take charge of the situation of being moved around, which is a pity, really. Of course it's a pity. I mean, look, the car started on the button, as they say. It always did. And now it's got some SE1 wheels on. Would you like to have a guess which car these wheels came off? And just like Knackered Horse, it is leaving the yard soon. But not on my truck, I might add. And that's because Transit Face hasn't got any plans to be leaving the yard for quite a while. No, because its MOT brought up some welding issues that it needs sorting out. And unfortunately, I ran out of time. You know, when you take a vehicle for its MOT, then you have a brief period for retest. Yeah, well, that's what's happened. I've run out of brief period retest time, so this car not go back to the same MOT station, just be retested and then drive it away. It's got to start all over again, which is of course an inconvenience to say the least. But plans for Transit Face are still kind of up in the air somewhat. I might just tell you why actually. I have a friend in Wales, and this friend is a good friend. He's a very, very good chap. He's not a messer, he's not any kind of thing. He deals in cars. He's forever having to deal with people that I have to deal with, which makes the whole thing quite a lot of hassle. But he wants Transit Face, but he has become ill, and ill to the extent where he couldn't even work. And that has kind of put the brakes on things somewhat. So at the moment the plans are not exactly set in stone, but I am still open to have Transit Face leave the yard or not. You know, I'm easy about these things. What's much more important to me is my friend making a proper recovery, not what happens to this. Oh look, a Rover 800 covered up with a tarp. This particular Rover 800, which is there, also has a rather unsure future, because of course this car is a spares and repair jobby. It doesn't start because of the immobiliser. It's got no catalytic converter because it got stolen before I bought it, and there was a chap who come along with this tarp to cover it up to stop the boot from getting any more damp, paid me a deposit and said I'll be back next month. Now since then he's not been able to commit any further, so he's basically just said keep the tarp, keep the deposit. But he's got another couple of days before he was going to be returning, so I'm going to give him till then at least before I actually put this thing back up for sale properly. Yes, Rhiannon. But before that, the Caravan. The Caravan. Yes. Do you know, this is such a comfortable place to sit and eat some takeaway food. There are plans for the Caravan, none of which have happened yet, but one of them has, and that is that it gets used. It gets used for me sitting in here and eating food. If that food involves, you know, having a plate. Otherwise I just eat outside like a homeless person. For the moment though, nothing's changed. Nothing at all. It doesn't really need to, does it? The main thing is it's still here, we still have it, and it's going to be potentially full of adventure this year. Last one. Rhiannon. Still a work in progress is this car, because I've got to get back to that inlet manifold and take it all back off again. I know it's my own stupid fault, but I didn't have a new thermostat housing, so I used an old one that looked like it was new. And the trouble is, the actual seal on the thermostat housing only ever really works once, so they go a bit baggy, and then you bung them in the hole and they slip back out. I guess that's what it is, because it's leaking still from exactly the same place as it was before. It is the thermostat housing. That's all there is to it. So yeah, DGMRs, I need to get back onto you chaps, and you can send me something. It's going to make a nice car, that's for sure. Funny that, isn't it, when you say it'll make a nice car for somebody. If it's already a nice car, it's already a nice car, but it's for somebody. So you may have noticed that's the end of the keys going back into the pot. There's some, and there's one missing, isn't there? There's one car missing. How could I possibly miss Nigel? Well, have you seen Nigel here? No, you haven't. And that's because Nigel isn't here. As I am trying to keep costs down, I am running this month Eric the Rover 25 diesel, which is only £16 a month to tax. Nigel, on the other hand, isn't that much more. But what's the point in taxing that and not using it? No point. Or taxing it and using it at the same time. No point. So Nigel has gone off to live with his uncle Michael Jackson, where he will be happy for at least the end of the month. Unless of course somebody comes along and just buys Eric. In case you're confused by the Michael Jackson reference, Michael Jackson is the name I gave to Senior Mustard's Rover 25 because it has the initials MJ. So that's where he is. And whilst he's been up there, Senior Mustard's actually done a fix on it. A fix that I didn't even realise needed doing, which is the key fob. Sometimes the key fob works and sometimes it doesn't. It's just down to the actual buttons on there becoming a bit, well, they fall apart on the inside. And he's done a fix on it. So thank you, Senior Mustard. I'm very grateful. Who are you? Someone's beeping out there. What about other things that have happened in the yard? Well, I can confirm there's been a new yard cat knocking about, and I haven't seen the old one for about 2 months. Getting lots and lots of emails and messages and stuff from companies wanting to do stuff with my channel. Hopefully some of it will be worthwhile doing. Now have a look at this. Trevor the trolley there is back in one piece, and that's because it's been welded, and welded by me, just not very well. That isn't going to last that long before I have to do it again, but that's not a problem because I will. It's last month's update. I have been given a welder, a MIG welder, and it's been used quite a bit so far. They have to be, because you have to essentially learn how to use one, because it's a bit tricky to begin with and you waste a lot of wire. But you know, I'm getting the hang of it, and I am determined to get the hang of it because I want to take control over the fate of cars like this one here, Vaughn or Toby Charles. So I've spent quite a lot of time actually messing around with the welder, welding bits of things together, and the best thing I've done so far is probably welding this back into the gate, because this was forever getting lost. That would just pop out and end up on the floor. My neighbour here, he'll leave for the evening of the day and he'll kick this right the way across, and actually that's a bit too far because that means you've got to kick it back, and if it's there you can just slide it in and out. As you can see, that's not difficult. If you kick it right the way across to there, you need to then kick it so you can get it across yourself. And what would happen is that you would kick it, and rather than going across, it would just pop out and end up on the other side of the gate, leaving me in a position where I'm having to lie down on the floor, getting my arm underneath the gate, seeing if I can reach the thing. That happened twice. I don't really need to offer up some sort of brilliant explanation as to why I've done that bit of welding there, but you know, I just did. And finally, before I go home and edit this video, the Peugeot. But the Peugeot, but the Peugeot, but the Peugeot, but the Peugeot. Yes, but the Peugeot bike. This bike's probably worth as much as most of the cars now. It has certainly been the most reliable. I do believe I've owned this bike longer than any car. That means it really does deserve a name, doesn't it? Anyway, bye.